Shalom, it's the 10th of September, Thursday. I'm just preparing for tomorrow night's study on Hebrews chapter 3 and just reviewing my notes. And the thing that stood out for me today is just the idea of Moses striking the rock in the midst of rebellion. But before I jump into that, just a quick overview of Hebrews chapter 3, just the main topics. So first and foremost, if you read the chapter 3, you'll see the word household and house, and also furnishing or building the house. And so that, in my mind, is the main topic of this book. That flow in from the previous two chapters, which the first one is revealing Yeshua as the king, second one revealing Yeshua as the prince or the judge. And the next logical step in establishing the kingdom, all of this is about establishing the kingdom, is the house or the people, the household. As I said earlier, a kingdom is established or based on the following. You need a king, you need a land, you need people, you need a government system. So we looked at the kingship. The people were prophetically pointed to the nations, and in this chapter it referred to the people as the household. And now we have a bit more detail on what's happening inside of the house. Now, in this chapter there are two individuals mentioned. Firstly Moses and then Yeshua. Both of them are servants in the house. Now there's also a comparison between the house above and the house below. The house above is where Yahweh the Father is. The house below is the household, which is referred to as Israel, the righteous people of Elohim. And that coincides with the concept of Hebrews, because Abram was the first Hebrew, and Israel was an extension of Abraham through Jacob, who had 12 sons. So the covenant was multiplied or extended to a larger audience. And in the Torah cycle I did Saturday, that was one of the main things that stood out in relation to Shechem. Shechem was the place where Abraham built an altar, and then again at Shechem Moses is building an altar, and then the connection between the two mountains, blessing and curse, of which the mountain of the curse is related to Esau, descendants of Esau, and the mountain of blessing is referred to Zion, which is our last chapter in Hebrews, which is the goal, the outcome, where the New Jerusalem or the house will come down, the house of Yahweh, to be established on the earth. So just a broad spectrum there. So the idea from going from Abraham to Moses, the next one is Yeshua. So the concept of the covenant is not about removing people from the covenant and replacing someone with someone else within that covenant. It's about extending the covenant. It was given to Abraham in Genesis 15. It was given to Moses and the people of Israel at Shavuot, out on Mount Sinai. And the covenant will be finally extended on Mount Zion to all nations who are coming to the kingdom through the processes that happened beforehand, which is associated with the prince, which is judgment, and then the final step where the house is established on Zion. That's where the kingship of Yeshua is revealed, and that's basically the framework of Hebrews as well. So what makes Yeshua superior to Moses? They were both servants in the house. Yeshua is superior to Moses because he's the builder of the house as well. And there's scriptures in Peter that referred to us as living stones, and then Paul also revealed us as the members of the body of Mashiach, which is the house or the household, the extended household. See, this is the next step after Sinai, The wilderness time frame is where the nations come in. That's where you have the concept of a tabernacle, which is this referring to the household or the house. And that's a mobile structure. Now, we are currently in that phase between the two mountains, Mount Sinai and Mount Zion, where there's a mobile structure. There's no longer a fixed structure in Jerusalem. The temple was destroyed in 70 AD. And then the house transferred to the mobile structure again, which is the tabernacle pattern, which is now little tabernacles all over the world, which is collectively the body of Mashiach. So we form part of that. And that's where this study comes into, because the author of Hebrews, he is addressing the people in the mobile tabernacle structure. And that's a timeless message that will extend until the permanent structure will be established, which is the New Jerusalem. So this book is very applicable to us. So within the house, I think his audience consists of Jews as well, and they regarded Moses as the highest authority. They still do. And they also see him as a Mashiach, as a mediator, as the anointed one. Now, technically that's correct, but he's not the ultimate Mashiach, because he only received a little bit of Yeshua's anointing. The ultimate Mashiach is the one who's got the fullness of the anointing, which is Yeshua. Now, he also distributed his anointing upon his body members, which is us. That doesn't make us Mashiach. That makes us little Mashiachs, which is the word Christian, little anointed one. So in the same way that Moses distributed the anointing, or Yahweh distributed the anointing that was on Moses to the 70 elders, in the same way he distributed to the idea of 70 nations, which is the term for identifying nations in this world, because from the 70 nations the whole of the earth were populated and multiplied. And that's also where the fulfillment of Abraham's covenant comes into play, where the promise was that all nations, all the people of the earth will be blessed through you, through your seed, of which Yeshua was physically a seed that triggered that next multiplication of the covenant concept. And we are currently in that phase where the nations globally will be affected and coming into the household of Elohim. So that's just a food for thought on tomorrow's study from an angle of the parasha of last week regarding the covenant. So I hope you have a blessed day, and speak to you tomorrow night. Shalom.